Hey guys, welcome back to Tech Trade and Chai. I hope you guys are able to see my screen. This is another update from the Project Phoenix series. Here I am gonna document my journey towards becoming an interview-ready software engineer. I have now completed day 19. So in this video, just like the previous one, where I showed or highlighted the summary about day 1 to day 9. Now, in this video, I'm going to highlight or explain the summary about day 10 to day 19. This will include what was the goal, the things that I learned, the mistakes that I made, and some interesting interview takeaways. So, do tune in. I think you guys would definitely love this. So, as we move, so what was the goal? Right, and what changed across the last 10 days. So as you can see on the screen, I started with business rule based programs, then I moved into search and filtering the data, then I moved to dictionaries, then I moved to CRUD operations. CRUD operations are very essential, specifically not only within Python and data structures, but eventually when you start dealing with Python and database. And finally, I started with functions, how functions return values, and also function composition. So basically, from the first 10 days, the difference was the first 10 days was more about a little bit of getting to know Python again, trying to touch base again, how I make this work. And now the shift is how should I structure everything? Because as you can see from the words, right? Functions, business logic, dictionaries, CRUD, search and filter. So initially it was more on if else loops, just getting familiar again and confident again in writing the code. And now it's about structuring, right? So when it comes to business rules, I understood that boundaries matter. So this was one of the ideas, right? Then data structures, then the state and functions. So about business rules, right? When I say boundary condition matter, so for example, I actually introduced a bug around an employee having exactly 5 years of experience because my conditions didn't represent the business rules correctly. So when I say boundaries matter, right? So how do you represent the rules within the dictionary? That does matter. Let me quickly show you on the screen what what I meant by this, right? Let me just bring my Visual Studio up here quickly. Boundary validation. Let me open this, right? So when I say boundary matters, right? So these are the boundaries. 0 is one boundary, 35 is the boundary on the higher side. Similarly, 35 here is the boundary on the lower side. So if you see the contrast, 35 here is on the upper side, whereas for the second record, second dictionary record in that list of dictionary, it's the starting point, right? So this was about business rules. Now coming back to the second point, which was more about search, filtering, and data structures, right? So search, filtering, data structures, it was more about whether I'm trying to search one unique record. If yes, you break it. If you want to filter or find multiple records, then you need to continue through the collection. So you write a for loop, you want to find one unique record, then you just break once you find a match. If you find multiple records or if you want to find multiple records, then you do not use break, right? So this was more about data structures, right? Then I moved into CRUD operations. So CRUD is nothing but, as you guys know, create, read, update, and delete, right? So that introduced the idea of changing the application state rather than just reading the information. So one simple example is, let's say you have a dictionary that contains employee information and have a key value, let's say salary, and the value for that salary, which is the key. You perform some operation, let's say you want to give bonus to that employee. Now you want to update that dictionary with another key named bonus, so you are basically gonna update the existing data. So this is nothing but, or comes under the CRUD operation, because we are going to update. Let's say if you want to just read the data, or you want to create a new record, or if you want to even delete a record, that comes under CRUD, right? So these three ideas help me approach how I'm going to structure the data. Similarly, the fourth functions, everyone uses this, right? So functions, I understood that they separate responsibilities. Whenever you write a program, you can compose functions pipeline, right? One function can return something, one function can print something, so different responsibilities, correct? So these were the things that I learned. Now the list of problems that I solved, as you can see on the screen, right? There were multiple. So I had a bonus calculator. I worked around banking functions. I worked in general about CRUD operations that I explained. I did a dictionary lookup. I did a product inventory search. I did employee filtering, let's say based on some grades or based on a salary range. I did salary processing. So salary processing, one example that I gave was calculating bonus. I did a loan eligibility. Loan eligibility was based on salary, if any existing loans, those kind of codes that that I did write. Then utility billing, like what is the electricity bill. Then we had e-commerce pricing engine. So these were the problems that I solved. It did help me uh, take the confidence to another level. In my case, also I of course made hell lot of mistakes. Let me see, I did yeah, so these are the few mistakes that I learned, right? So one of them was the boundary condition that I mentioned earlier, right? The program worked, but the business rule or how the boundary was defined was incorrect. During the product inventory problem, I had a variable called product found, right? Initially, I was updating it when only the purchase was succeeded. But those are actually two completely different things, right? The product can be found even if the transaction fails, like product was found. So I was updating product found to true only after the transaction was successful. So these two are different state, right? Product is found. Now you pay is a different state. The pay will go through or not, as I said, is a different state. So that was the mistake that I made. Then there was a redundant state. So I was manually maintaining, let's say if I want to, for employee salary processing or bonus processing, if I want to just highlight or summarize how many employees were there, what was the payroll count overall or payroll summary, right? So we could use functions like len length, or we could use functions like sum, but I was maintaining a counter in the code itself, or using variables like cumulative salary, just to add up those variables via loop. So it was redundant, that code. It also helped me realize that unnecessarily using those loops can have impact on the CPU and memory, even though the records in this case were very few. But imagine if we had millions of records, right? So this was about the mistakes, and this is the important part, right? The interview takeaways. So after this 8, 9 or 10 days, what I started to realize, the questions that came to me, right? So why choose a dictionary instead of a list, right? One of the questions that I had. Then I had what is the difference. So this is very important, specifically because the series is around FAANG, right? So O of n search versus O of n average lookup. What changes? So O of n and O of n. A very simple example is if you are just looping n records using for loop, that's O of n complexity, time complexity, and O of 1 average lookup. So basically, let's say you have a dictionary, you have a key, and you have a value. That would be your O of 1 average lookup, or what they called as dictionary hashing, right? Then another question that came is why not fetch 10 million DB records and filter them in Python? Like, what should be the engineering mind if there are 10 million records? Should we filter them in Python, or should we filter them in DB and fetch, or vice versa? Why always validate uh, before changing the application state? Like as I was explaining, like let's say we are reading the data from an existing input. If we are going to update it, right, we should validate the data before updating it. We should not incorrectly update, right? Sometimes I realize that if you want to create a function pipeline, if you want to make sure that functions can be tested independently without being dependent on others, it is important to return a value instead of printing it. Then we declare global variables, right? I also realize that when you have global dependencies on the functions, the testing makes it harder. What happens when two users update the same records, right? The concurrency issues or the race condition, that I started to think. So this was a very good journey. And the last question, right? Where the business rules live. They should be in code, they should be in a separate config file, or they should be in a database. So this was the interview questions that I had. And as I mentioned before, it first 9 days it was all about how do I make this work, and now how should I structure this, right? And the repository is right now becoming the timeline of the project Phoenix, right? So what I do is every day I mention what was today's goal, what I learned, the problems that I solved, the mistakes that I made, the interview takeaways, every single commit, and next day's goal, right? So this is what I have been doing. Now I'll quickly show you or highlight the project Phoenix repo that I have with me. So you guys can also, whoever is listening and is interested in technology and want to give a take a look, so you can guys can see here daily updates. Yeah, I've been doing this daily every day. One thing that I can tell you, eventually this will definitely help me improve my skills, and hopefully this takeaways, right? This PPT also I'll add in the video so that the interview takeaways part, at least you can listen, you can take those questions, and also the problems that I solved, right? I'll put those in the PPTs so you can try to solve yourself. And if you guys want, the day wise, you can even see in the repo itself under Python. Yeah, whatever day it is, you will find the corresponding code in the .py file. So this is what I have been doing recently, guys, and I hope you guys like this. Keep supporting. Do keep an eye on new videos. The next video will be on something related to finance. I was away with work, so I couldn't upload a few things, but yeah, I'll again try to be regular for you guys. Thank you for listening in. See you on the next one.